Hey everyone, welcome to part number 3 of In the Shed. We're not in the shed today because, well, it looks like this. But that's okay, we do not need to be in the shed to talk about what we need to talk about. Getting this out of the way, first and foremost, yes, I have a McLain push edger that looks really pretty. I can't get the engine to run because it's one of those, flow jet type carburetors. You know the one I'm talking about where the fuel pickup just goes straight down into the tank. There's no bowl. It's a 2.5 horsepower Briggs & Stratton engine, and they don't make crap for that carburetor anymore. Plus the fact that there's a little spring on the height arm for the blade, and I put it in wrong, so the blade just kind of falls down, and that's dangerous for the blade, not for me. The McLain is a shed queen, and frankly I'm proud of it. I said that the McLain wasn't going to be a shed queen way back when, well over a year ago, when I was rebuilding her and making her better than she ever was, except for the fact she doesn't run. Maybe one day I'll do an engine swap or something with like a cheap Predator engine, but as of right now, she's a shed queen. Like it or not, that's what she is. So we're going to be talking about the landscape blade and my edger and when and where I use them. I never had a blade edger up until like late 2018. Like I'm talking very end of the season 2018. My father-in-law had this little Troy-Bilt that he couldn't get running, and I cleaned the carb up with just a whole lot of seafoam in an aerosol can and just burn it out, got it running, and it did okay. It was rather awkward though. The push, it was my first time using a blade edger, and it was also a push edger, and going along like curves on especially the curb, it was just extremely awkward. I did also have my landscape blade that year, and I was using that entirely for all my edging, be it around any of my live edge beds or along my driveways or curbs, anything like that. Now, yes, it can be used in that fashion. It actually is designed to be submerged slightly underwater and, to edge around bunkers on golf courses, in addition to its original use, which was like trimming along roadways so rocks and debris wouldn't be slung into oncoming traffic. It worked really well, and frankly, it gives a fantastic, like, holy cow, that is a nice, crisp, clean edge. Looks really good. Now, the only downside is you're putting tension against those counter-rotating blades by running it against the concrete, and that was something I just didn't feel comfortable in continuing to do. Now, every now and then I'll do a quick pass. That's not a big deal, but the cost of the landscape blade, that in conjunction with the replacement blade cost, replacement blades are $80 a set. That's a whole lot more than $11.99 for a 3-pack of blades for your stick edger at the local box store. So I have a replacement set of blades. They'll probably go on this year, but I've sharpened it one time and it's done really well up until the cut hasn't been too great, but that's just because I haven't cleaned it. So that was used entirely for everything, all my edging, and I got by. Last year I did go ahead, and we talked about it in episode 2 on getting a deal, or at least I think we did. I know I talked about it, but I might have edited that out. But when I picked up that Echo Pass system, I could buy the main unit with like a trimmer head in the store and then add on the edger, but then buying it online, I was able to get both units in a combo pack for a whole lot less money when Home Depot had it on sale, and that was awesome, saved me money. The stick edger, again, that was a bit of a learning curve. The landscape blade made edging very easy, and so I just kind of had to redo things and relearn, muscle memory mainly, on the stick edger, but that only took a couple times. And my biggest, I think, pitfall with it is the fact that I'm left-handed, so I'm standing on the right side of the unit. My left hand is controlling the throttle, and so I don't know if that's the proper way. Every video I see, everyone's walking on the other side, but maybe they're wrong and I'm doing it right. So now with the stick edger in my arsenal, I use that for almost all my edging. I use it along my driveways, along my curb, along my sidewalks, and when I need to get down and dirty and like actually chunk up some stuff in the live edging, I'll use those. I don't have that bed redefiner bit. One is, I won't get one because I think the PAS 225 is just wee bit underpowered for the use of one of those, being that's like the entry level engine size. And two, it's like $300. I'm cheap and I'll just use a shovel. I still use the landscape blade for, I guess, the finer details. That's a really good way to put it. Now I have a lot of curves. I'm not talking about my stomach. No, I'm talking the landscape beds. I have some very tight radius corners, and the nature of the stick edger, it doesn't work well on an inside radius without, digging in to some of your turf area. So that's where the landscape blade comes into play, for those finer details into those tight radiuses, to get those nice and clean. It just works so much easier, and I'm using both tools multiple times a week anyway, so it's not really adding any inconvenience to myself. Using both multiple times per week? That sounds like a lot of work. Well, not really. The concrete edges stay okay for like every 2 to 3 mowings. The live edges can sometimes go a little bit longer, maybe into 4 mowings, but the key is staying on top of both of them during the growing season, though I'm always trying to, just make sure nothing gets too out of control, because at that point, then I'm left with a lot of clippings and stuff to get deposited into the mulch, which isn't a big deal like on my natural mulch up front with my pine bark nuggets. In the back with the rubber mulch, it just looks unsightly, so staying on top of it's really the best thing. And when you stay on top of it, it's only maybe 20 minutes for me to edge with both the landscape blade and the edger, and that's counting all my trim work and edging for my entire yard. And I do go around my entire perimeter. Even though I don't have to with the live edge and the reel, it's a force of habit. I like just making things really nice, just clean and tight. So I do the whole perimeter of the yard with the landscape blade, and still it's only like 20 minutes, so it's not bad at all. Now, the one type of edger that I also have that needs to be talked about is my little garden weasel. I think it's a garden weasel, I don't know, but it's a blade edger. They make half moon varieties. I bought this nice fancy silver and red one. It is one of the best tools I've ever purchased in my life. Yes, it's a little bit slower than your powered varieties. However, the quality of work that it does is fantastic, and I use that edger many times a year. It is my number one tool when I go to redefine any of my live edges or when I need to clean things up. And more importantly, you notice there's rocks there now. Well, landscape rock things. Trying something different this year. I left the plastic edging that's in place that was holding what mulch was held up on that hill. The blade edger is the perfect tool to go along, and it only takes like 5 minutes to do that 70-foot section because it's already been established. Slice everything away, and that's very important with a Bermuda yard or even a Kentucky bluegrass yard where you have grass spreading via stolons and rhizomes, because it chops those off. Decapitate's not the right word, but it goes all French Revolution on those stolons and rhizomes and helps to keep the beds tidy. The biggest problem that people have with Bermuda grass, and especially with live edging, is keeping it out of the flower beds, because once it gets control, it's very hard to manually remove, and using a blade edger along that is just the quintessential way to prevent that from happening. It's what I've been doing now for 3 years and what I will continue to do, and it's not an every mow thing. It's not an every week thing. It's usually, I go out about every 2 to 3 weeks just because, and it's something I kind of do in the mornings while I'm enjoying my coffee, doing my laps around the yard to stare at it weird and garner looks from the neighbors that are out walking. And it takes no time at all, and you're done, and things stay looking crisp and clean. The one thing I did not talk about, though, it was edging with a string trimmer, and yes, I know you can do it. However, I just don't. I don't like the results I get from it because I'm not good at it. So if you are fantastic with a string trimmer and edging with that, by all means, go for it. So thank you all for tuning in to episode number 3 of sitting out in front of the shed on a stool. Next episode, I'm not sure. I'm going to toss up on what I want to do. We're working our way through things. We're getting close. We'll talk about sprayers. More importantly, my boom sprayer. Love that thing. Used it yesterday. It was delightful. And we're going to talk about hand cans, backpack sprayers, and all that other fun cool stuff in episode number 4. But hey, anyway, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and wow, wind's picking up. If you have recommendations for hair product to prevent this from doing it without cutting my hair, leave those below in the comment section. Hey, it's Mike, Real Low Dad, and we will see you again soon.